Hello, lovely people. Welcome back to the Growth Mindset. Guys, today we have a very special guest with us today, Abhijita Kulshrestha. Now, guys, Abhijita was awarded Woman Icon of the Year in 2018. She's an accomplished writer, an author, and currently the Senior Director of Gemstone Universe. Abhijita started her career in journalism, wherein her first article landed the front page of the newspaper, starting her career with a bang. But later she realized that this wasn't her true calling, and tried a few other careers, finally finding her true passion in astrology and changing people's life one at a time. So let's find out more about Abhijita and how she was able to achieve this level of success, as well as manage her personal as well as professional life at the same time. Here we go. First thing first, thank you so much for Miss Abhijita for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Salawat. Thank you for coming here.
Yes, my pleasure. So, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself for people who don't know you?
Sure. I'm Abhijita and I'm the director of Gemstone Universe. I'm an astrologer and an NLP practitioner. I love poetry. I'm a published poet.
Yeah.
And I love people and everything that is about them.
Mm-hmm. So, could you give us an insight about, your childhood? Where were you born? What's your story?
Okay, this is an interesting one. I was born in New Delhi, but my father was a microbiologist, and he had this. He used to work at the Central Research Institute in Kasauli. So I grew up totally like a wild child. And Kasauli is the kind of place, if you're looking at the pictures of the snow in Himachal these days itself, apart from the crows and the dogs in the winters, you have no one practically in your vacation. So apart from school, it was like without the TV, internet, playmates, anybody, what you can do with your time. So nature was my best call. And I used to spend most of my time in the nature, in the jungle. Mostly exploring.
Were you the only kid or you had...
No, I had an older brother, but usually the older brothers don't like sisters tagging along.
Okay, yeah.
They have their own world.
Correct.
Yes.
So, what about the education? You did all your education?
No. So, Kasauli is a very small cantonment and it's got very few options when it comes to studying beyond the 10th standard. So, but of course, at a very young age, I left home and... after 10th, I studied from my 11th and 12th grades to post-graduation I did in Chandigarh, living separately. Then I started working alongside because, there was always this thing that I must do my own thing and I must not take money from home. So I started working even while I was in the university, I think the first year itself. So... the journey for being independent and finding my own calling started early on, very early on.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was reading when I was researching about you, I also came across that you were one kid who used to just wander off into the wild, go around. Any specific reason for that? Were you interested in stories in the early age? Anything inspired you, like your parents, your grandparents?
Not really. So because the older people in the house, in the family, they have to do their own things which are very vital for creating a warm space for the children. And in those days, there was not so much of privilege that you have 20 people escorting you around the whole place, helping you manage your time or doing things for you. So we were mostly left to our own devices. And for me, the nature's, the call of the wild was very, very strong. I love plants. Uh-huh. I love plants, and if I tell you what we were up to those days, it gives me goosebumps because it's in today's time with the awareness that you have today with snakes and scorpions and spiders and all kinds of leopards, hyenas, people telling you that this is here, that this is there, you won't even venture out.
Absolutely.
But that's where I played and I grew up most of the time.
Okay. And then you did your master's in mass communication, if I'm
Correct.
not wrong, right? Punjab University.
Correct. So Department of Mass Comm has come of age and I think it's one of the better institutions today.
Okay.
in terms of delivering quality education. I did my master's there, and then I joined Times of India as my first serious, like full-time professional assignment.
Okay. That was your first.
That was my first assignment.
Okay, so and where you still work, were you in still Chandigarh, or were you in Kasauli? Where were you at that point of time when you got this?
I was very much in Chandigarh, so it was right after. It was almost like, they know who's passing out from there, and they know who they want. So it's almost like you are in the job before you know it.
Yeah.
So those were good days.
Okay, and how from mass communication to Gemstone University? I mean, like, this is a whole new world. I mean, like, what was the story? What inspired you to get here?
So I might just end up saying things which are truth for me, but a lot of people may not like it. I am a person who used to be drunk on idealism, and which is why I had picked up the thread of journalism, that I want to create a change, and this is where I need to start, and this is a good option. So you are very idealistic, you're young, you are full of energy, and you want to do a dozen things for people, you want to create change. But what ends up happening is that, once you step out into the real world, the dynamics are very different, very, very different. So it was something that hit me pretty hard, and while I couldn't point out at that point in time what was happening to me by way of my experience or my feelings, I wasn't happy. So my logical step was, okay, what else can I do that might just take me? So MICA was the next step, where I did enjoy. I did a lot of research. I took a few classes also in communication theory. Learning is something I love. So my next best thing was that, okay, yes, an academic environment would be really good. And then I did some good work there. After that, I got married, and then I moved to Bangalore.
Okay. So any specific thing that triggered why you felt like journalism is not your thing, and you would like to go and try something else, maybe go back in communication and teach that?
So see, this is also again a very personal choice. I do not like to put down anybody saying that they're not doing a good job. Everybody is doing whatever they can do best, and that's the truth of things. In your more immature spaces, you will try and play the blame game, but as you grow more mature, you understand, yes, I couldn't do it. It was not my cup of tea.
Correct.
So it was not that something was wrong. There is a superstructure. There's a superstructure called the media, which still thrives, whether or not I could be a part of it or not.
Absolutely.
But probably it was not my path in life, so I had to drop out from that train. And then I tried academics, which I do love, but then marriage happened. And then again, with the family growing, you are not able to, your priorities change. And as life starts teaching you several different things, it shows you different ways of coming up in life. And for me, my exposure to astrology and the means by which people can just create amazing change in life, it kind of rekindled that fire, the change thing.
Okay.
Idealism that I began with. So again, that the idea reared up its head again, that here's a possibility again. I can still go back to achieving that dream. And while, what happens with journalism is, yes, your story might get filed, story might not get filed. People may read it, people may not read it, action may be taken, may not be taken. The thing which happens with astrology and gem therapy is that you work with every person case to case. And you have complete, at least, significant chunk of control that you will be able to assist this person in becoming better.
Correct.
Without anybody interfering with what you want and with your intent as well. So what I was thinking at a mass level and from the scale that I was at, here I was driving the change one person at a time. Very happy to say that so many people that come in touch with us, they see that magic in their lives. So this is really, really the first day I sat in, and a lot of people who know me will know that I say this. The first day I did my first consultation, it was like, I'm home.
How did you stumble across astrology, and
So, Guruji has started this organization, Gemstone Universe. It started back as a page on GeoCities, then it became Astro Mandir. So, my proximity to him, he used to consult a lot of people, and he used to give them different ways and means, whether that is a set of prayers, a personal practice, a gem therapy, or even the recommendation of doing nothing, which is a very difficult thing for most people to do. So when I used to see what happens eventually with people taking that advice and transforming their lives, so it brought out tremendous curiosity for me. And then one thing leads to the other, and astrology, gemology are such fields. It's like, you stare into a very wondrous place and it takes hold of you. And there's more, and there's more, and there's more. And it's like you're walking through a forest of enchantments forever and onwards.
There is this saying also that a lot of people are not very big fans of astrology. People say this is not right, or there's no science there. So would you like to shed some light as to how does this work?
Absolutely. Each one to their own. As many mouths, each one is entitled to their own opinions. But, JP Morgan, he once said that, millionaires don't believe in astrology. Billionaires do.
Interesting.
So I would not listen to people. I would rather listen to a JP Morgan speaking who has made something out of his life, or I would rather, go trust my own personal experience, because it's an absolute science. And if something, and it's a study that requires tremendous dedication and years of work altogether to be able to understand it. How much does it take for a person to get up and say this is bunkum or this is a hokum?
True.
Doesn't. You don't even question what do you know about it. They are moving with a very limited information which they must have got from somewhere, or because it's the popular opinion. So there is, in mass media we have this this theory that people usually have this confirmation bias. What the others are saying, I must fall in line with it, otherwise I'll stand out and I'll be singled out. I'll be seen as regressive or someone who doesn't know that thing, which is not so. See, every person who has done anything worthwhile was either called mad or was ostracized initially. So until we have this mass mentality to just jump behind someone and, not try and explore something new, you will always have biases to work against. But that doesn't stop a truth from being a truth.
Exactly. And when you started your journey in astrology, what exactly were some of the challenges that you faced, right, in the beginning, and how were you able to come out of it? It could be during astrology, or even when where you were trying to find out or figure out what exactly you want to do with your life, with your purpose.
Sure. So when every human being, the Maslow's hierarchy theory. So once your roti, kapda, makan and those needs are satisfied and your love needs are satisfied, then you're like, what lies ahead? Is this all that there is to it in life? So a person always looks at what is going to give them satiety. For me, as a person, like I mentioned before, I'm a very learning oriented person. And for me, it is very important to be a person who is at least a wee bit better than I was yesterday. So the work that I'm doing, if it's, drudgery, repeat action, one after the other, mechanical action, sometimes we have to do that also because that's karma. As a mother, I will churn out food for my children, or as a person who has a household, I must do the chores repeatedly. That's a different case. But in terms of my profession, astrology gives me the leeway. The gem therapy gives me the leeway. The study of gems itself is so amazing that with every new day there is so much of information and unexplored information, which just makes it so magnificent.
So how can this help individuals? Let's say if somebody is a millionaire or a random person, how would astrology or gems help him?
So this will be a slightly longer exposition. I hope that's okay.
Please take your time.
If there is a person and the person wants a change in life, the first thing to understand is all human beings are very complex, subjective creatures. They have their biases, they have their conditionings, and they have a general thought pattern they have lived with, they have their belief systems, they have values ingrained into it. So change is not an easy thing. Most people are change averse. They like to maximize pleasure, minimize pain without changing much. But for any change to occur, there has to be a tangible difference in your energy system. Now, if I ask you, Salawat, who are you? You might have different answers for me. But in the end, you are an energy system.
Absolutely.
You are made up of several atoms where electrons are there, which have basic charge. So which means to say, there is an energy system in play. Now, if you are sitting somewhere on an average day and somebody walks into your office and suddenly your mind will be like, yaar, aaj nahi. I don't want to meet this person today.
Correct.
How do you even know that? That's because your aura reads into the energy field of the other person and you know that this person saps me. Or somebody you are going to meet and then you're particularly thrilled about it. It's like, oh, this is going to be full of beans today. Because your energy system knows it's getting a feed. Right? So when you have an astrology map in front of you, it is such an exact science that it's basically called a journey from womb to tomb. It can give information about your psychological makeup. It can give health challenges, where you happen to be strong, where you will trip, and things that if you could do, you can achieve wondrous things. Okay. So it's almost like doing the Myers-Briggs or a psychometric.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
So if I know where you have a deficiency, energy deficiency in, or what your tendencies are, let's say if you're a person who has some kind of an angst and typically trip on life wherein, let's say, the equation with the senior is never a peaceful one. There is always an ego issue happening. Always somebody seems to rile you up, or always somebody seems to be very bossy. Typically, just if you address the self-esteem part or the I am part of me, that thing will automatically go away, because if you feel enough about yourself, or I am enough, or I'm good enough, whether the person is offering an instruction, whether the person is offering criticism, you take it just as is, not as a statement on me or my potential. Of course, there's scope of improvement in everyone. So you stop getting bothered by things so much. So awareness is something which astrology gives. And well, where does gem therapy come in? It's absolutely fantastic, because even when astrology gives you awareness, you're a creature of habit. You might take the 2-bit from me from here. 4 days down the line, you will be repeating your old habit pattern. So that's where the gems come in. They give you that tremendous energetic leverage to somehow change it for the better. And of course, it's not an instantaneous process. 40 years of conditioning one cannot undo in a go. So, but yes, when you work with it, it works on your energy and makes significant difference.
So how long does this normally take? If somebody comes to consult you, saying, this is what it is, how long does it take for somebody to see those results out?
Depends. Again, depends from person to person. It's actually a very tricky one, because there are people who don't want to do anything, who magically want, they're looking for that pixie dust formula where, they wear something and shazam, you have everything going on good for you, which does not happen. Nobody can do that. It's an effort-based world. It's karma bhumi, right? But there are certain very powerful gems with which we have seen even during the trial phase, people have had magical turnarounds. So it's a person-to-person, case-to-case, and basically a lot of karma-driven space.
And then somebody also has to take consistent action. If
Absolutely.
I'm not wrong, right?
Without action, there is nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Because I've personally heard of a lot of people who say, if you put this ring, everything is going to be fine. But end of the day, it's about you also taking consistent action, trying to, as you said, trying to work, break those habits, bad habits what you have, and then work on it and improve.
Absolutely. So let's say I have a desire that I want to write a book, but I'm a very lazy person. So of course, if I look at your horoscope and I give you the 3rd house push or the 5th house push, yes, that pushes the capacity to build up, the publishing force or get it going. But if you're not going to write, well, nothing's going to happen.
Correct.
And you need to be consistent with that. It's not like you'll have a full body of work overnight. Any blogger, for that matter, you do a podcast.
Yeah.
It's over a certain period of time that you have a body of work, and it will start to come to that fruition phase.
Makes sense. So, in terms of other things, you said in the beginning, right, that I've also researched about you. I've seen that you moved from different, would say different jobs to different jobs and finally coming here. This actually takes a lot of courage in terms of, having the balls to say, okay, man, this is not my thing. I'll try something else, which today people, or let's say the society would frown if somebody's trying to, let's say work 1 year here, 1 year there. So, how important do you think this is in terms of once you realize that this is not a thing for you, this is something not for you, how important it is at that point of time to realize and, make a switch?
See, Salavat, I was a mad hatter. And the good part about me was that probably my parents were not at all judgmental. They might have been a little scared about what I was doing. But I had all the freedom to make choices of the kinds that I wanted to, although I was quaking in my pants, but what to do? So, in today's time, things have changed massively. So I cannot dish out the advice and tell anyone, you should absolutely do your thing, and whatever, doesn't look good to you, you should quit it and follow your heart. So yes, follow your heart is very good, but don't dismiss the mind altogether. You need to have a fair sense of proportions about what your liabilities are, what the path ahead is, what the times are offering to you in terms of options when it comes to career. Let's say if the economy is shaky today and you say, no, I want to follow my heart, I will just kick a good paying job in McKinsey, even though it's at a, almost a starting level. It's not going to work out. It doesn't seem like the smart thing to do unless you have a very strong backup where you're going to be taken care of. So it's a luxury of the few. But the thing is, keep your dream alive. And like I always say, I always maintain this. There is this survival dance. Without surviving, you cannot do the sacred dance, which is what your heart is about. So when I write poetry, so it's like I don't have time. My poetry is written at the cost of my sleep. So I do my sacred dance. I do my survival dance. I mean, for me, this one also is sacred. Fortunately, I have been very fortunate enough that both of them have become very, very sacred for me. So have that space. Have that space where you allow your dream to live. And once it's becoming, when it grows big, nothing can stop it from achieving greatness.
Guys, this is the end of part 1 of the interview with Miss Abhijita. Stay tuned for the next episode, which would be live next week. Until then, take care and hustle hard.